So the Packers finally get a win. We break our losing streak, beating the Rams 20-3. And this was a game the Packers really needed because coming in here against a backup quarterback, Matthew Stafford not playing, this was a game where if the Packers were going to have a chance to really get things right and at least start moving in the right direction, hoping to see some improvement, this was a game the Packers needed to have at home against a backup QB. And they did it, winning the game 20-3. Defense played lights out, even though we were without lots of our guys in our secondary. Also, Quay Walker was injured. Darnell Savage, of course, on IR. Rasul Douglas traded. So many different guys out here, especially young guys. Carrington Valentine had a crazy game, crazy good game. Almost had a pick there at the end. Anthony Johnson with a pick. There are lots of bright spots here. Jonathan Owens at safety with the strip sack in the first half. So many, many great things to build off of now with the Packers sitting at 3-5. And I want to go through and we'll break down many different aspects of this game. Jordan Love, what I thought about what we saw from him in this game, the Packers running game. We'll touch on the Packers defense in more detail. But it is nice just to get back on track. You know, when you're in a losing streak, it just feels like nothing was going right for the Packers. And every single time there was a game, there just wasn't very much positive. And I think this game, even though it wasn't perfect, there are lots of things the Packers can still clean up. There are many different things the Packers can build on, and I think they can have a lot more confidence going forward as they try to continue to, build on this success and find the improvement that they've been hoping to find for the past month or so. Finally worked today. And so we'll start off with the Packers offense, then I'll get to the Packers defense, touch on lots of the young players playing very well, some other guys as well. But I think the biggest difference in this game that was not the case during the Packers and their losing streak was during that stretch, we had no ability to run the ball. The Packers' run blocking was pretty bad, consistently, I think, getting pushed around by opposing defensive lines. In this game, there were tons of running lanes available, which led to the Packers finishing the day with 38 carries for 184 rushing yards. That has to be close up there when it comes to the best rushing game for the Packers this season. I haven't checked the other games, and it may have been the best day. It probably is up there if it's not the best day. At 4.8 yards per carry. And one of the biggest factors is Aaron Jones finally got a ton of touches. Matt LaFleur said later this week going into this game that it was time to let Aaron Jones loose. And he's been dealing with that injury, his hamstring injury, for a little while. The Packers have been hesitant to fully unleash him. And today we saw him get a ton of touches. 20 total carries for 73 yards at 3.7 yards per carry. He also added an additional 4 receptions for 26 yards. So that is 24 touches for Aaron Jones. And the Packers are able to move the ball in this game. And I think it partly has to do with Aaron Jones. Obviously, I think he's a very talented running back. He has an ability to, when he's in a certain running lane, it starts to get, closed up and guys start filling it. He has a vision to break outside, break away, make some nice moves. And we saw some of that today also with him adding in there a touchdown. But half of that, and I think the credit has to go to the Packers and their run blocking. It was really, really solid. And there was a point where Jon Runyan goes down in I think it was the first quarter, at least in the first half. Sean Ryan, former third-round pick, comes in, plays really well. He gets subbed back out, but still, it was nice to see him have some nice plays. So at least if the Packers wanted to in the future, they could try him out there at guard, potentially. But all in all, that was the biggest difference, I think, in this game, was the Packers' ability to run the ball. And because in this game, the Packers we were pretty much up the entire day. I think we were up the entire day. We never were forced to become one-dimensional, and that's one thing that's happened in this past losing streak is the Packers' defense played okay at times, not in this game. I mean, they did play great in this game, but in the past few games, there were games where they were playing okay, and the Packers' offense just couldn't get anything going. Then we get a few scores down. We become one-dimensional, can only pass. The defense knows that, and then we can't really rely on the run. But this game, we were able to consistently rely on the run, and that really led to a pretty efficient day for Jordan Love. Jordan Love goes 20 of 26 for 228 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions, and a 115.5 rating. And I think if we look at the first half, there were a couple plays that have me slightly concerned, just because so far this season, I think we've seen inconsistency with Love when it comes to accuracy. Obviously, as we've talked about many times on this channel, so many things aren't going well or hadn't been going well for this Packers offense, and so it was tough to judge Jordan Love, but definitely he had struggled with his deep ball accuracy, and we witnessed that one of the first plays. It was either first or second quarter. Christian Watson beats his guy. He's wide open. Probably should have been a touchdown in the back of the end zone. Love underthrows it, doesn't put enough air under it. Christian Watson tries to come back and catch the ball, can't really get it. And so that play sort of just kept in my mind that, Jordan Love has struggled to hit those deep balls consistently. And I do hope that he can turn it around in that area. But when it came to that one, that was slightly concerning. But outside of that, and maybe one other slightly underthrown ball, I think it was to Malik Heath. I think it was still catchable, but it wasn't a perfect throw. He could have thrown it a little bit better. Outside of those two plays, Jordan Love played really, really well, especially the second half. I think he maybe only had one completion in the second half. And so even though he had maybe a couple inaccurate throws on the day, 20 of 26. And that's been one big topic of discussion for anyone discussing Jordan Love, Packers fans, the sports media, is that Jordan Love has had one of the lowest completion percentages in the NFL. And today he goes 20 of 26. So it was nice to see him being efficient, especially in the second half. And it wasn't just, short throws. I saw an interesting stat. Let me see if I can pull it up from X. And it was posted by Rob Demovsky of ESPN. And it was basically showing Jordan Love and his accuracy on throws over 10 yards. I don't know if I can find the tweet right now, but I think he was coming into the day of throws of air yards over 10 yards, he was around 30-ish%. Today he was at like 75%. So there were lots of nice plays he made from 10 to 20 yards. There was a nice touchdown pass to Luke Musgrave, which that was a beautiful play design, sort of like a double fake screen. Musgrave goes across, wide open. Love hits him. That was awesome to see. And then there were some nice throws to Dontavian Wicks, a nice one to Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs. Christian Watson was pretty silent all day until that really awesome catch in traffic. Love just sort of puts it up there. Trust Watson. He goes up, makes a great catch for 37 yards. Unfortunately, Watson injured his back, chest, and I believe he was being evaluated for a concussion on that play. And I just feel so bad for Christian Watson because it seems like he just can't catch a break with these injuries. And it's just tough to see because I think he really does have the ability to be a very, very good receiver. And because he's been injured so much, he hasn't been able to consistently build on things. And so after making that great catch, it was sad to see him go down. And I hope that it's nothing serious and hope for him that it's all going to be all right. But basically my main takeaway from today, all in all, is that Jordan Love played really, really well. There were a couple bad throws he probably could have wanted back. But I think many quarterbacks have, a few bad passes, even the greats. And so it was awesome to see him make tons of plays in the second half. I think he definitely took a step up from the first half to the second half. And there wasn't, at least in my mind that I can remember, any plays where I don't think there are any turnover-worthy plays in my mind from, if I can remember correctly. There was no really close interceptions. He was pretty much on point most of the day aside from those, couple inaccuracies. So I think with Jordan Love, as we've talked about, we just want to sort of see that improvement. Mark Murphy discussed over the weekend that he just wants to see this Packers team take some steps forward. And I think this was a step in the right direction for Jordan Love, for this Packers offense, to be able to run the ball, to have Aaron Jones out there fully healthy. The Packers offensive line blocking really well in the run game. And then, Luke Musgrave having a pretty solid day, 3 receptions, 51 yards, 1 touchdown. Dontavian Wicks, who I think is going to continue to take these steps forward because we've seen a few different moments of him in the past. But today, a pretty solid day, 4 receptions, 49 yards. He did have that unfortunate play where he fumbles the ball. It was sort of just unlucky that he somehow dropped it, but he was reaching out, trying to get the first down, trying to make that extra effort. Unfortunately, it somehow bobbles out. They get it. And so he can obviously learn from that. But I think Wicks is taking lots of strides forward. And so it's awesome to see some of these younger players who don't have a ton of experience starting to build that experience. And all in all, pretty solid day from the Packers offense. Obviously, Aaron Jones also fumbled it. It was a little bit slippery out there, it seemed, with the rain. But I feel pretty good after this performance for the Packers offense because we really hadn't seen anything the past 4 or 5 weeks, and we finally have some positive things to build on going forward. Now moving to the other side of the ball. The defense played a really, really solid game. And going into this with, Brett Rippon playing at quarterback with Matthew Stafford injured, I thought this was a game the Packers should be able to keep things in check on the defensive side. But the Rams still do have some very solid receiving weapons. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, who's been a very, very solid rookie, played as one of the best receivers in the league so far this season. The Packers did a good job of keeping them in check. Carrington Valentine went in there and had a very, very solid game. He was like, when they targeted him, he was always right on the guy. Always, playing physical. I love the intensity he plays with. You can tell after every single play, he's like fired up. And so it's cool to see that intensity, the physicality from Carrington Valentine. And I do think, with Carrington Valentine, that's one of the reasons the Packers felt confident trading away Rasul Douglas, because they knew they had some guys who maybe had potential. And Carrington Valentine played really, really good in the preseason. He struggled a little bit against the Broncos and Cortland Sutton, but today played very, very good against some pretty talented receivers. And also, too, Darnell Savage is on the IR, and then Rudy Ford couldn't go. So that meant two pretty inexperienced guys, safeties, Anthony Johnson, rookie, and Jonathan Owens, who was, a signing from the Texans this offseason. Both played pretty solid games. Anthony Johnson gets an interception after the Jair tip, which was a great play by Jair. Nice heads-up play by Anthony Johnson to catch that ball and be aware at the moment. And then Jonathan Owens with that nice strip sack, which, helped the Packers. So all in all, with the injuries the Packers suffered, even though it was against the backup quarterback, it was a very solid day. We also held them in check when it came to running the ball. The Rams only had 26 carries for 68 yards at 2.6 yards per carry. The top receiver on the Rams, Cooper Kupp, 2 receptions, 48 yards. Not bad facing off against Cooper Kupp. And then Puka Nacua, 3 receptions, 32 yards. And the Packers' defense was flying around. Rypien had tons of pressure, tons of the day. If we look at sacks here, we only had 1 sack, but it did feel like we were consistently forcing him to escape the pocket. The 1 sack was by Jonathan Owens, who also was the Packers' leading tackler, interestingly enough, with 8 tackles. Jair second, Isaiah McDuffie third there. McDuffie also, very good game with Quay Walker out. Really nice plays against the run. And so it was a very promising game for this Packers team overall. This Packers defense, very young defense today, especially with some of those players out. There obviously are still some things to clean up. We can talk about lots of the penalties. Those 4th and 1s where it's 4th and 1, the Packers they basically convert it with a QB sneak. And then both times we were called for offsides. The first time I think they called it on Yosh Nijman. The announcers thought it should have been on Runyan. Then the second time I think they also called it on Runyan. Or they called it on Runyan the second time. And I don't know. I don't know if that was actually offsides. I did not, really agree with that. Matt LaFleur did not seem to agree with it. You could tell he was angry on the sideline. So if he would have converted those, this could have been an even better game for this Packers offense. And overall, there's still some issues with penalties and these mental mistakes the Packers have made. I think we had a total, if I pull it up here, I think we had 8 or 9 penalties. We had 8 penalties for 57 yards. So there's still a little bit of sloppy football being played by this Packers team, and we can definitely clean some of those things up. But all in all, I think a solid day, moving in the right direction, and hopefully we can take these things that went well and build off them going forward next week. I think we play the Steelers. And Jordan Love, I think, has to feel pretty good after this game because he was pretty efficient, didn't make too many bad decisions, was pretty accurate most of the day. And so all in all, it feels good to get a win. We're at 3-5 now. Maybe we can go on a winning streak. Who knows? But that was a pretty solid day, fun day for the Packers to get the win at Lambeau Field. So that's it for this one. If you want more Packers content, feel free to subscribe. Turn on the post notifications so you never miss any Packers content, Packers news, and I'll be out with Packers videos throughout the week. So stay tuned. And make sure, check on the channel to see the newest videos I post throughout the week. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.